So another quick video clip. This one's on accrued expenditure. So a topic that sometimes students find confusing, but if we can be methodical and think about what each transaction actually means, you can gain full marks. Now, the accruals concept from an expenditure point of view means matching expenditure to the correct accounting period. So it's not about what we spent this year, it's about what relates to this year. So we could have money that we owe at the end of the year, which will be included within our expenses because it relates to this year, or we could have paid in advance for something for next year and we need to remove it. So what we need is a T account and a methodical approach. So first part, enter the opening balance. So in the question, it could have told you you're owing money at the beginning of the year, but that means you've got a liability. Sometimes that's also called paid in arrears, and so therefore that would go on the credit side. Your balance brought down or balance brought forward would be on the credit side to say that you owe money. If you paid in advance last year, so you paid for something that you're going to gain benefit from or use this year, then it's going to be on the debit because it's an asset, because it's a prepayment. Once we've done that, we enter the bank figure for the amount paid. Now you should know by now that expenses go up on the debit, so you'd label it bank and you'll put bank on the figure on the debit side of the T account. So you gain 1 mark for each of those, and then we enter our closing balance. And now this will depend on what the question is telling you, but again, you could owe money at the end of the year, which means you've got a liability, which means your balance carried down is within the T account and the debit, because the closing balance is balance brought down on the credit. So the liability can go in the current liability section of the statement of financial position. If we prepaid, so if we paid a little bit for next year, we'd put the balance carried down on the credit with the balance brought down on the debit. So that will be a current asset in our trade and other receivables section of our SFP, so our statement of financial position. Sometimes the prepayment will need to be calculated. So maybe you paid a bill for 3 months, and then you work out how much related to this financial year and how much is prepaid for the next one, and that will give you a figure. So sometimes the prepayment could be a couple marks because part of it is working out the prepayment figure. Finally, the income statement figure is a balancing entry. So you've got to work out how much of that expense is actually going in the income statement, and that will be the figure that balances the T account with all the other entries. It should be on the credit of the accrued expenditure account because expenses go on the debit in the income statement. But if you do on the wrong side, normally you'll get a mark as long as it's mathematically correct to the figures you've already put within the T accounts. Right, if we look at a question, we've got this particular one is from, I've put on the bottom, ASMA 2020, question 12.2. We have some information, and it's actually quite a quick one because there's no calculations to do. Some information that relates to Mitt Harley's employees. So it's a wages account. So at the beginning of the year, we've got an amount owing of 2,800. So if we owe money, that is going to go on the credit side of the T account. So I'm just going to get my pointer. So that 2,800 will go on the credit side here. We paid 58,600, and that's come out of the bank. So we're going to put that on the debit side and label it bank. So we've got 2 of the 4 marks already. And at the end of the year, we owe 4,200. So we would have a balance carried down, 4,200. Then we'd have a balance brought down of 4,200. Then the balancing figure will be the income statement. I'll get the mark scheme for this question to show you exactly what it should look like. Just a couple of things to note. Prepare the wages account on the 30th of April 2020. The closing balance of balance carried down will be the 30th of April 2020. The balance brought down will go the 1st of May because it's the balance brought down to the next period, which is the 1st of May 2020. But the next stage, I'll show you the mark scheme. Okay, so what we've got now is this is the mark scheme. So we've gone through the question, and a lot of the things I've referenced are here. But just so you can see, 1st of May 2019 is the opening balance of 2,800 on the credit side, like we said, so you gain 1 mark for that. The bank figure, like we said, was 58,600, so you're going to get 1 mark for that. You've got to be recording the balance carried down and the balance brought down for the accrual. You can have one or the other, so you'll get 1 mark there. The higher side is going to be the debit at 62,800. So you pop the income statement figure on the credit for 60,000 as the balancing entry, and you'll get a mark. Just look at these marker notes. The entries must be on the correct side and have an appropriate label. Labeling is a big part of accounts, and so you've got to be careful. You've got to make sure that the label is for another T account, and obviously the other side of it. So when we're saying this one, it has to be bank because it goes through the bank account. It's got to be income statement. You've got to check those labeling carefully. It should not be a description of the transactions. Like you couldn't put wages. It is the wages account. Sometimes people do that, and or even just put a bit of Harley, which is the name of the owner. There's been some weird things that I've seen done in these questions. Does accept reasonable abbreviations, so like BAL, BD, BAL brought forward. You can have IS, and obviously it can say profit and loss, but just where you can, write in full, but with balances and things like that, it's really not needed. But check those dates. This particular question did not give you a mark for balancing down on the 1st of May 2020, but that has been the case in previous papers. Okay, good luck.